Hello everybody, it's a FarmSim guy here, hope you're all doing well. It's been a year since we started the channel, and I tell you what a year it's been. I honestly could not have believed that I'd be sitting here today with you guys saying 23,000 subscribers. Just phenomenal. I honestly, when I set out to do this, it was a little bit of fun to pass the time during lockdown, and I never thought it would happen. I never thought anybody would want to watch stuff that I did. I was just having a little bit of fun, flexing my creative muscles because I don't get the opportunity to do it at work as much as I used to. And here we are. Honestly, I can't believe it sometimes. I have to pinch myself. So, I'm away this week. I'm having a nice, relaxing, I think, well-earned break with the family, away from computers and away from technology and all of those things. So I thought we'd take the opportunity here to just do a little bit of a look back across the first year of the channel, what we've achieved, some of the highlights, some of the things that kind of shaped the channel and the direction it took, and share it with you guys. It's been a real journey for me. I honestly, like I said, can't believe we are where we are today with 23,000 subscribers and over 2.5 million video views. It's just the numbers, it's mad. So with that in mind, let's jump into a little bit of a review of the last 12 months, and just really a big thank you from me for all the support. It's been overwhelming, to be honest. This is a phenomenal gaming community, the FarmSim community, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. There's some incredibly nice people I've met over the course of the last 12 months, incredibly supportive and incredibly decent people. So with that in mind, let's jump in and see where it all started. So we're going to start a trip down memory lane way back in July last year, July 2020, and I kicked off my channel with a series on Purbeck Valley. I picked Purbeck Valley because it's an interesting map. I think there's a lot going on there, and I was quite selective about the mods I used, and I wanted to start with a little bit of a challenge. I'd watched a few other people with their series and thought I can do something like that. It just adds another dimension to the gameplay rather than just driving tractors around the field. I'd looked at doing time-lapse, and I just decided it wasn't really for me. I didn't feel I could get enough of the personality of the channel over by doing time-lapse, and there's a lot of people doing it. I kind of thought it was a saturated market. So I watched the guys like Dagwin and people like that, and I thought, well, you know, there's something in that. You can get a bit of story in there, you can get a bit of conversation in there. So that's what I plumped for, and I threw myself in with a bit of a Purbeck Valley series, which really run as my first main series. I think we got up to about 30 episodes on it, and it's still an enjoyable series that I really enjoyed putting together. So beyond that, we then moved on and tried Oakfield Farm, again another map that I really loved. That was a little over a month into the channel, and at that time we were running, I think we had about 35 subscribers. Nothing huge, but some really friendly folk already, and I'd already realised at that point that this was a nice community. You know, I was looking at some of the big guys, DJ Goham, Dagwin, people like that, and thinking, you know, these are phenomenal guys. I mean, there's so many good FarmSim YouTubers. We are spoiled. Then on the 27th of August, I did my first tutorial, and that was a combine unload and offloading a trailer using courseplay, and I'd had a bit of a play around with courseplay, got my head into it, and quite enjoyed what it could do. It was a bit of a revelation finding courseplay as a mod and thinking, wow, this adds a real extra dimension to the game. So I did that courseplay tutorial, my first tutorial, and actually as of today, that's had 29,000 views. So obviously hit a vein with people, and something that I've tried to carry through in all of my tutorials since then is making sure that I make it really clear, making sure the steps are clear that allow people to follow it. Something I've found with some other tutorials is you don't get that kind of almost basic step-by-step guide, and that's something I've always tried to do. it seems to be working. So you know, I'll keep doing it until people tell me otherwise. But so far, so good with those. Then we moved on to our second real solid series, and that was New Park Farm, and this was a no debt challenge. It's the first time I'd used seasons in a series. I did 9-day seasons, and I gave myself quite a challenge. I started off with a 500,000. One of the rules was you had to buy a farm, you couldn't go into debt, and it was a really good learning curve for me. It definitely got a lot more interest than the Purbeck Valley series, and I think looking back on it, Purbeck was a map that people had played a lot. It was kind of like the no man's land of its time. Everybody loved Purbeck Valley, so I think it was maybe a saturated market in hindsight. But the New Park Farm series kind of made me look at it differently, and it was actually a really tough challenge. There was a lot of waiting around on 9-day seasons, and you know, for me, it didn't hold the enjoyment or the engagement that I'd had on Purbeck, but from a viewer perspective, they seemed to really like it. I think I'd rolled over around about 30 or 40 subs in total. Not a huge amount. But then, on the 31st of August, I think I got my kind of first, I would say, break. I joined one of Silver News' live streams, dropped a little super chat in there and said, "Hey Silver, just starting a new channel, any tips? And would you mind sharing my channel?" And I dropped him an email as well afterwards, and he was very kind, replied to me, said he liked what I was trying to do with the channel, thought I'd set it up really well, and he did a very generous thing and talked about it at the end of one of his videos. That got me quite a little bump in subs. I think I went up to about 130 subs from, I believe it was 55 over the course of the next few days after Silver's mention on his channel. And that was great, and I think that maybe was the start of YouTube and the algorithm starting to pick me up then, because a few days later I'd started my Millennial Farms series, and again it was Millennial Farms was one of those maps that a few people had it for PC before it was removed from the mod hub, and there was a lot of people still looking for it, so it had an interest factor to it, and I'll be absolutely brutally honest, one of the first series that I absolutely got sucked into and really, really enjoyed was Cadurk's Farms, Millennial Farm series. Still, for me, one of the best series that any YouTuber has done on that map. And obviously, as a big fan of the Millennial Farmer, as I think a lot of us are, I kind of love that map, and I still do today. So I started a series on Millennial Farms, larger scale, and that's when I kind of realised that the American farm side of thing was a niche that I was enjoying playing in. So I carried on with that series, really enjoyed that series, enjoyed playing with the big equipment, had a little bit of fun. In fact, you'll find that I put a case Steiger on Millennial Farms about 2 months before the guys at Welker turned up and lent him a Steiger. So I think they got the idea from me. They're not saying they did, but I'm not so sure. I think it was my doing. I think one of them watched my channel and thought it was a good idea. We also did a video, and probably my first, I guess, conversational video, which was what's in my mod folder. And at the time, obviously, it's slightly different to what it is now. But that was really well received. So I actually forgot that I'd done that video, and when I was looking and researching for pulling this content together for this vid, I didn't realise that that had been such a successful video. So looking back on it now, that's something I may do again in the future. I do get a lot of questions about what mods do I use, where can I get certain mods, where did you find that mod, and ultimately my line is always one of out of respect for modders, I will never give people another modder's mods. I will want them to go and find them, support that modder, like their Facebook page, do whatever it is they need to do to to give that modder the exposure and the traffic that he needs on his site to hopefully make a little bit of ad revenue or something that keeps him going. You know, drop him a little PayPal donation or something like that, just something that helps. You know, and I always say that for modders. People ask me sometimes if you know, can I have a download link to all of your mods? And I'll never do that, because I think the modders are such an important part of this community that we have to respect them, and we have to, whenever we can, make sure that they get our support. So the What's in My Mods folder video, like I said, very successful, and I am definitely considering doing one of those again in the not too distant future. I also did my first ever live stream. That was on Greenwich Valley. Even to this day, it only has 143 views. But there was a couple of guys on there who are still strong supporters of the channel. That's Will's Farm Life and Mr. Patrick, my fantastic Greek friend, who has been with me. He was my second ever subscriber, and he's still going strong at the moment. So from my perspective, like I said, the community that we have here is fantastic. So into September we are now already, you know, just a few months in, and Greenbale's Northern Coast map came out, Northern Irish map, fantastic little map, and I know a lot of people enjoy playing on it. But I thought I'd try something different there, so I did a little bit more grass work, setting it up for animals, for cows, and it was a really, really enjoyable series. And at the time, by far my most successful series. At this point, though, I was still sitting at around about 200, 250 subscribers, so not a huge amount, but it was growing steadily. But a long way from thinking that I was going to get monetized and I was going to hit my targets of 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours. I thought, you know, it's going to be a year before I'm at those kind of numbers. So I was just working hard. Actually, at the time, just a really enjoyable thing to be doing with my time. We were in the absolute kind of maximum time of lockdown. Things were not looking great, so it really kept my focus and kept me positive. So but that Northern Coast map was a really enjoyable series, and I got some really nice comments on what I was doing there. September was the month I also did my first ever giveaway. I gave away a copy of FS19, and it was won by The Crew, who still drops into the channel every now and then and says hello. And at that time, I was actually running with 4 main series. I still was running Purbeck Valley and New Park Farms, and Northern Coast that we just talked about there, and Millennial Farms. So I was running 4 core Let's Play series all at once, and it was a challenge to stay up with that. You know, we throw in a few tutorials along the way. I did a courseplay beginners tutorial, which was very successful. But it was busy. September was a very busy month, and into October I just kept churning out those videos. I was gradually growing in numbers. I think I was up to about 400 subscribers by the end of October. And then on the 28th of October, everything changed for the channel completely. Literally, I know, as much as overnight, as overnight as it can do on YouTube. And I discovered, looking through Reddit, a mention of a map called Flint Hills, and I had never heard of Flint Hills, and it turns out not many people had, and it was this complete and utter hidden gem of a map, which I think, you know, Flint Hills, everybody knows about Flint Hills now. I have yet to hear anybody say a negative thing about Flint Hills. Incredibly well put together map. The guys at JS Mapping, you know, I've spoken to them a lot since then. You know, at the time they were flying under the radar with this map, a brilliantly put together map, a 4x map, huge fields, really nicely finished. The quality of the modelling and the quality of the map was second to none at the time, and I was utterly blown away by it. And I was searching on YouTube and I was Googling this map, and nobody was talking about it, nobody was playing it. I was like, I couldn't understand how nobody was playing this map, because it's, for me, was the best map that I'd seen by a country map. And even now, today, I would challenge whether or not there's many 4x maps that can give it a run for its money. So anyway, I created my first ever map tour, of Flint Hills, and what a map tour to start with. That is crazy. The speed that took off was just ridiculous. I followed it straight away because I was so sucked into that map and how good it was. I followed it just a couple of days later with episode 1 of Ohio Corn, which was my Flint Hills series. The first episode of that with the 4 class North American combines in yellow, which I'm sure a few of you have seen the thumbnails for, and you know it's my favourite combine. That first episode of Flint Hills got 51,000 views, and that month my subscriber numbers jumped by over 2,200 subscribers in 1 month. I hit my 4,000 hours, and I hit my obviously 1,000 subscribers in literally a couple of weeks, and it was astounding. Honestly, I could not believe it. And again, you know, just reinforced for me that American interest in FarmSim was really, really strong. And I think, you know, the legacy of FarmSim being a European game was that the American community hadn't maybe had the support that the European community had, and there was such a big audience crying out for some really good American content that a map like Flint Hills just came along at the right time. I also got the opportunity to meet MRG for the first time, and did a tour of Farmersburg, and at the time he was very much working on Marksville, and I remember him saying to me, thank you for doing the map tour, and he enjoyed my map tour, but he said, actually, wait for Marksville. Marksville's going to be brilliant. So he gave me a heads up about that. He was also working on Clark Farms at the time as well, so shared that, an early review. So that was my first ever map that I got early access to before it was live to everybody, and I kind of felt, you know, that was for me a really marked moment in the year. Finally getting support from a modder who wanted me to showcase their stuff before everybody else got it, which was really, really nice. At the same time as well, DJ Modding's Dear Country came out, and I didn't have early access to that, but DJ was incredibly generous afterwards and liked the content I'd done. So I was really kind of enjoying myself at this point, you know, getting some sort of feedback from the community that what I was doing was positive was huge. And I actually did my first ever Flint Hills live stream as well, which averaged 19 viewers over the course of nearly 4 hours, but made me realize as well I loved the opportunity to speak to the community as well. You know, looking back on it now, it was a little bit awkward in places. I'm definitely feel a lot more comfortable with it now, but at the time it was really nerve-wracking. I remember being really nervous before I started it, but you know, a fantastic thing to do, and I really, really enjoy it now. So there we go. That was a bit of a sum up of November and into December. Early December, I did a tutorial on GPS, 43,000 views as of just now, and the Flint Hills series was going from strength to strength. We were getting some really big numbers watching those vids now, and that was fantastic. I lived and breathed Flint Hills for a good few months, and then early December as well is when I launched my first sim dashboard screen, and again that was something that I just picked up in the background. Sim Dashboard, I can't even remember how I found out about Sim Dashboard, but I found out it was compatible with FarmSim and downloaded a couple of the dashboards that were on the site. And they talked about this whole design interface that's behind it. And you know, with my background from web design and graphic design, I was like, how difficult is this to build? So based it on the Gen 4 John Deere screens and pulled together my first ever screen there, the GPS screen, and enjoyed, in fact, the build of that so much that very quickly followed that with the Combine screen as well. And I have to say, when Clutch did his series and put them all into his Combines and dropped me a note about it saying he loved what I'd done, again, just that just that recognition from, you know, a big YouTuber like Clutch was huge for me, and it just spurred me on to want to do more with the channel. So that was brilliant. And you know, by the end of December, rolling into the start of January, we were ticking over at around about 2,000 new subscribers a month. You know, we did some brilliant reviews at the time, you know, really nice large H mapping sent us Glenwood Farms ahead of launch. Had some great conversations with Trailer Park Farms about his new sheds, and it was a really big month. I'd started to branch out a bit now. I was doing a lot less Let's Plays. You know, I started off as a Let's Play channel. That's all I did was, here's a map, here's some gameplay, rinse and repeat, different map, different gameplay, but same thing. And I was finding my confidence now. You know, I was getting more comfortable with editing. The speed of editing was going up, and my understanding of how to capture the footage and how to do my thumbnails and get all of that. The YouTube side of stuff, I have to say, was the steepest learning curve. More so, obviously, you know, I'm lucky that the industry I'm in, I know how to edit video, and I know how to, you know, design. Oh, I think I know how to design decent thumbnails and stuff like that. You know, being a graphic designer for 20 years, I have the skills. I know how to use Photoshop and Premiere and all of those things. So, but the YouTube side of it was such an alien concept. And actually, you know, there are some brilliant tools within YouTube to help you understand your statistics and how your channel's working. So, from that perspective, it was enjoyable finding out that stuff. And I did a lot of research as well because. You know, nobody tells you this stuff. You have to work it out. There's a plethora of information out there, but nobody's done the seminal. This is how you set up a YouTube channel, and it's different for everybody, right? You know, no two channels are the same. No two people are the same. So you've got to find your own route with it. And you know, I was really enjoying doing that. So there we go. That was the end of the year, and the end of my first, you know, just less than 6 months of the channel, and it was phenomenal. I couldn't believe, you know, I couldn't actually believe where I'd got to by the end of the year, with around about 5,000 subscribers. It was just huge. I didn't believe it would grow much more than that, but at the same time, I was excited to see what the prospects would be like for the coming year. So there you go. That's the first 6 months of what happened on the channel. I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of a story time, a little bit of background to kind of how things panned out in the background. You saw all the vids, but you didn't know what was going on in the background, so I hope I gave you a little bit of a good account of how that worked. When I started this video, I didn't know how long it was going to be, and as I've worked my way through it, I've kind of realised that there's maybe two parts to this. So the second part, the second 6 months, starting at the start of 2021, will be coming in the next day or so. But in the meantime, I just want to say a thank you again, and I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.